was formed under very unique circumstances because it was guided by a government of national reconciliation, a government which did not have an opposition party working against it. The constitution making process accommodated every aspect of diversity of the Kenyan people. It included the socio-economic status, ethnic, gender, religious faith, age, occupations, persons with disabilities, any disadvantaged group, and it was guided by the universal principles of human rights, equity, democracy, and the rule of law. You may find out that we are one of the few countries which give legal provisions for women representative. The women of this country demanded that whether they are the same people who elect MPs or not, they need a special rep to take care of their interests. That is how progressive this constitution was. If I can remind the politicians who are walking around cherry picking parts of the constitution and creating all the hullabaloo around their preferred phrases, the people of Kenya were availed every possible opportunity to freely and meaningfully generate, debate, and vote for this constitution. It was not a political party affair. It is now the law of the land, meaning that every state organ, including the executive, judiciary, legislature, county government, private citizens, corporate citizens, must comply with the constitution. It is not an option. It is not just how much you can debate, how much you can mislead your people, and other things that matter. It is that the constitution must be followed, and it won't beg to be followed. It sets out in great detail the structural principles of all arms of government, how they will be put in place, and once in place, their functions and responsibilities. This is the constitution a clique of latter-day doctrinaires are walking around mutilating and quoting out of context to support their subversive ambitions. Every ambition that seeks to be pursued outside the law is subversive, whatever you call it. I will give you an example. Chapter 1 and Schedule 4 of these constitutions provide for the functions of devolutions, devolved units, and it defines their legitimate business. It is therefore a mockery of the law for some counties to purport to hold a sitting of the county assembly to vote for civil disobedience, to vote for an amorphous thing called county as something, people something. In the fullness of time, it is my hope that those MCAs who wasted public resources to pass those motions will be surcharged for using public resources for private activities. Your freedom of assembly, as enshrined in the Constitution, you can sit with your friends anywhere and even declare yourself the Pope. It won't bother anyone. But using public resources to purport to pass things which are not covered anywhere by law, especially when you are elected under the Constitution, which defines why you are elected, it is misappropriation of public resources. I hope they will be decent enough not to collect the salaries for that day. We are telling citizens that our national interest is not endless politicking. It is the observable movement from a poor standard of living to a better one. It is the kind of thing exhibited by the SGR where the cost of traveling from Kenya, from Nairobi to Mombasa, has been reduced by 500 shillings. That means whenever you need to undertake that journey, you are better off with 500 shillings. It is the kind of movement demonstrated that if you want to travel to take your goods for sale to Moyale, 2 years ago, you would have taken at least 4 days and paid in excess of 4,000 shillings. Today, you pay 1,000 shillings and you are there in a maximum of 10 hours. It is the movement from a situation where to access diagnostic machines, you no longer need to travel from Turkana to Nairobi. This is why we elect our leaders, and that is what we expect them to do. As we are talking today, all of us as a country are aware that we have wonderful tourist attractions, and I can tell you some of the best hotels you'll find anywhere in the world. In our coast region, in Nyanza, in every part of Kenya, we have attractions which are very unique. These institutions are all crying. I carried out a survey sometimes 2 weeks ago, and most of the hotels I contacted were on a 20% bed occupancy, meaning that they cannot be able to generate money even to pay for the general maintenance, cleaning, removing cobwebs in those hotels. It is therefore naturally the expectation that the new MCA will be going the extra mile to ensure that these hotels are full this Christmas and every other time after that, that the investments which are there. I'm actually taking this opportunity to challenge the members of the County Assembly in Siaya. There is a very good investment there, which Dominion Farms, which will not only serve to create employment for a few people, it is also a demonstration to the local people that the land where we were calling swamp and all that can be converted to profitable use. It can create jobs. This is a farm which is in the process of pulling out. And once investors come and pull out, and nobody is addressing their grievances, it will be very hard for the government to invite investors to come in this country and exploit our natural resources. Instead, people are seated voting so that a few thriving enterprises can be brought down. I think we are deceiving our people, and this is the time things must stop. Most of these investors have come because past leaders made very, very deliberate efforts to ensure that the investors are there. But currently, people move away from their responsibilities, from the reasons why they are elected and paid by the taxpayer of Kenya, to activities which at the end of the day end up to be a huge exercise in futility. When you look at the situation of our youth, there is very, very serious unemployment. An MCA should be able to harness the potential in his area so that every year for the next 5 years, he creates at least, even if it is only 5 new jobs in the county, he will have contributed something into improving the standard of living of Kenyans. Finally, what we wish to tell Kenyans is that expanding the country's economy was one of the key reasons we brought devolution. Expanding the country's economy by utilizing the potential in every area, by harnessing people's power, by mobilizing them, is the only way which will deal with the perceived marginalization we are always talking about. People who are hungry will not stop being marginalized. Let us also take this opportunity to inform Kenyans that every meeting called by anybody to execute an unlawful purpose is an unlawful assembly. When you avail yourself for such meetings, expect the full force of the law, all other factors notwithstanding. To our brothers who are in political opposition, as a government, the message is very simple. Placing wave after wave of deceptive propaganda on the toiling shoulders of your electorate will not move this country forward, and it is not the purpose for which democracy was generated. Come, join all the institutions of governance. Let us work together to harness the productive potential of our people and exploit our natural comparative advantage as a country. This is not the only way we shall put Kenya at an equal footing with the developed countries where we really love to go all the time. In a short while, you'll see a lot of taxpayers' money being spent, people going to Singapore, people going to the UK, people traveling all over the place. If you are a senator, I think you have a very big responsibility now, looking at the Auditor General's reports, looking at what your county government said they will do and what they did with the money of the public, so that you start supervising what is happening there before the first million is stolen. Thank you very much. That was our key message from the government today.